Side by Side, Book 2, page 45. Don't be ridiculous. My, mine, his, her, hers, our, ours, your, yours, their, theirs. You know, my dog isn't as friendly as your dog. Don't be ridiculous. Yours is much friendlier than mine. You know, my novels aren't as interesting as Ernest Hemingway's novels. Don't be ridiculous. Yours are much more interesting than his. My apartment, your apartment, clean. You know, my apartment isn't as clean as yours. Don't be ridiculous. Yours is much cleaner than mine. My computer, Bob's computer. You know, my computer isn't as powerful as Bob's. Don't be ridiculous. Yours is much more powerful than his. My boss, your boss. You know, my boss isn't as nice as your boss. Don't be ridiculous. Your boss is much nicer than mine. My furniture, your furniture. You know, my furniture isn't as comfortable as yours. Don't be ridiculous. Your furniture is much more comfortable than mine. You know, my house isn't as big as yours, as the Jacksons' house. Don't be ridiculous. Your house, yours, is much bigger than theirs. My pronunciation, Maria's pronunciation, good. You know, my pronunciation isn't as good as Maria's. Don't be ridiculous. Yours is much better than hers. Pretty. My garden, your garden. You know, my garden isn't as pretty as yours. Don't be ridiculous. Your garden is much prettier than mine. My recipe for fruitcake, Stanley's recipe for fruitcake. Delicious. You know, my recipe for fruitcake isn't as delicious as yours. Don't be as Stanley's. Okay, again, number 8. You know, my recipe for fruitcake isn't as delicious as Stanley's. Don't be ridiculous. Your recipe for fruitcake is more delicious than Stanley's recipe.